It's a life changer. Had a stroke while we were away, quite close to Dresden. We were about a week into my European tour that I do every year, driving around Europe. And yes, out of the blue, she's never had anything like that before. She had a stroke. It was about midnight one night. We ended up in an ambulance going to a German clinic. There was a really young doctor there who spoke perfect English. She was on the emergency bed. She was all linked up with drips and bleeps around her heart and everything. So it was sort of intensive care really. And I think one of the things that I found fascinating, I suppose relates to this, is how they use Skype. At the end of the bed, which she was on, and I was to her left and the two doctors were to her right, there was a big screen in a little room in a little clinic outside Dresden, and on the screen, the German doctors who were there called up a consultant. This would have been about 1 or 2 in the morning now. A consultant neurologist who was literally at the end of the bed looking at making diagnosis, advising the two doctors. And after a while, they made quite a firm decision. She'd lost all her speech by now. She couldn't walk. She couldn't really move her. There's a test that you do this, and you have to do that. But she couldn't do that either. And so they really got to the diagnosis very quickly, which is really important for a stroke, of course. And they treated her. It was very risky, 1 in 10 chance of it all going wrong, but it didn't, thank goodness. And she got back all her faculties, her speech, her walking, in fact everything has come back, so it was a miracle. What was extraordinary was that the two doctors said, we really want to treat the patient as soon as possible, and had explained the awful circumstances of the risk, 1 in 10 risk. And I said, well, that's, 1 in 10 is 10 in 100, that's 100 in 1,000, it doesn't feel good, And they said that it could be permanent brain damage, it could be permanent paralysis if it all goes wrong. So the technology came into play when I then turned to the consultant neurologist on Skype, and I said, look, this is quite a big risk, make me feel better, tell me some more about what we're undertaking here. And she at the time sort of said how they'd worked very hard in that clinic. They were one of the gold award clinics of Germany, and if anywhere the risk was less in this particular area. So she did a lot at that point. I'm trusting, of course. She did quite a lot to put my mind at ease, and so just by having that consultant there at the time, at that dreaded moment, was extraordinary, actually, yeah. So the technology worked fine.